Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 295 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Eilon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and a two-time author. Our second book is called From Letters to Leaders, Redefining New Member Education and Leveraging Belonging to Eliminate Hazing. So go and pick up that book on Amazon today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, today we're going to be talking about the world of television and media companies. Now, if you're trying to get on television right now and share your message, you better have a TikTok account and a good following there, because I was contacted yesterday by a producer about appearing on one of the biggest talk shows on network television and filming next week in Hollywood. And it was all because of a viral TikTok that I created months ago. So if you doubt the power of TikTok, or you think that it's only for dancing teens, boy, you have missed the boat. It is time to get your butt on TikTok. Now, our next guest is Maricielo Solis, a former TV journalist turned online entrepreneur. She is the founder and CEO of BLENDtw, a media company focused on producing content that fosters human connection. Disappointed by the lack of diversity in news coverage, Cielo decided to quit her job in television and make a change in the media industry by launching a website that's focused on grassroots journalism. That is how Blend, or Blend the World, was born. BLENDtw has grown to become one of the most popular sites among Gen Z in America today. The publication reaches over 1 million readers per month, and the company has expanded into a marketing agency and an e-commerce business. Apart from her work at BLENDtw, Cielo is a regular TV contributor speaking on topics related to entrepreneurship, online media, and marketing. Her work has been featured on The List, ABC News, Medium, Thrive Global, NBC News, CBS News, Fox, and dozens of other outlets. Welcome to the show, Cielo.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. What a great intro.
Listen, if you want me to come and travel with you, just pack me away in your suitcase. I'll do intros for you on stages all across the country. I got no problem with that.
Yay. That'll be exciting. But I got to go to Tennessee first.
Listen, anytime, like I said, you want to come visit Nashville, I'd be more than happy to show you the city. It is a wonderful city. I mean, you're familiar with Miami, you're familiar with New York City, but I tell you what, Nashville is the it city right now. It is hot. It is hot. So definitely come check it out.
Cannot wait. Cannot wait.
I love it. All right. So I want to make sure our audience knows a little bit more about you and your background, because I just think your journey is just so fascinating to me. You ended up going to Wheaton College in Massachusetts. I need to know, what made you choose Wheaton College?
Oh, I'll be very honest. A full ride. A full ride. So in the process of applying to different colleges, I think for me, my parents are immigrants. I'm an immigrant myself. I came from Peru when I was 13. And, like my dad always told me, look, unless you get a full ride, you are going to go to state school because no one has the money to send you to one of these like prestigious and private schools. So I had a great, great mentor when I was in high school, and she guided me along the process of college application because it was crazy. I came when I was a sophomore. I didn't really know about the concept of SATs, even though I've always excelled in academics. So she's like, make sure you go to a college that gives you full ride, so you don't have to worry about housing or paying for expenses. So I got into a couple of Ivies, but Wheaton College gave me a full ride, and it was the best decision I ever made.
I love that. I'm actually thinking about my own kids and getting them into college. And sure, they're looking at these Ivy League schools, and I'm looking at the bill going, oh my God, that's a lot of money. And so, you know what? The more I think about it, the more I'm starting to think your way. Like, you know what? Maybe if you just get a full ride at another school, maybe that's a little bit better for you than going into debt. And it's just has
Yeah.
climbed so much, even since when you and I went to school. The cost of tuition right now is just bananas.
It's so crazy. And I think it's specifically for like a bachelor's degree, why? No, grad school is super expensive. Like I never went to grad school, but I
Mhm.
actually did apply and I got into Columbia for an MBA.
Yeah,
And then when they told me 250K for 2 years, I'm like, thank you so much.
that's a
Not
lot of
interested. You
money.
know what I mean? Like I
Yeah,
was flattered that I got in, but I'm like, I can just go and do my business and like learn that way instead of like spending 250K. I mean, listen, like I can have a whole debate about college. College is great. College gives you a foundation, but I feel like you just have to like be smart about it,
yeah,
right? If someone gives you a full ride, it gives you a big fat scholarship, go with that because at the end of the day, it's like a 4-year institution, and I generally feel that college is about what you make of it. You can
yeah,
go to the best school, you can go to Harvard, but if you don't take opportunities to come along your way, then really it doesn't make sense, right? So it really depends on your goals and what you're looking for. Yeah.
yeah. I love it. Now, a lot of the people who are listening right now are listeners. I'm sure they would love to end up on television, and you've had a great career there. You started working as a journalist, then you went into
Yeah.
television as a production assistant at NBC News, then you were a page at MSNBC, NBC Universal, and then finally you became a producer on CNN.
Mhm.
So, what did
Yeah.
you learn from all of this time on television?
Wow, there's two things I learned definitely from television. The first one is that in television, it's not really, especially to thrive in television, it's not just learning to do things right, but learning to do them right under pressure. And at the beginning of my career, I made so many mistakes because when you're in live television, right, you're constantly under pressure. So I had to learn the hard way, right, to learn to work under pressure. I was so used to like not only deadlines, but imagine like when I was working at the Today Show and New Day, these are morning television shows, like 4 hour show, pretty decent segments, and then we have a breaking news story. And all the script goes away. You just have to go on air and like try to get a graphic, try to get a map, right? And just go with the flow. So I think I learned to be so flexible and work under pressure. And then the second one is really focusing on solutions. Like in televisions, this is you're working directly with a team. Like my morning television team is like almost 50 people in different roles. Like you don't have time to point fingers like, oh, who made the mistake? You just have to get in there and try to find a solution because you're generating live television and CNN, I mean, it's worldwide, right?
Mhm.
So the pressure is real. So you focus and finding the solution to the problem, roll with the punches, and just kind of like do your thing because it's so important to survive this environment. It's very different, I feel, right? Like working a corporate job, 9 to 5, television, it's always changing. There like anything can happen depending on the news of the day. So it's so important to just be very flexible. Yeah.
Be flexible and find solutions. That is such great advice over anybody's career. If you're a problem solver, you're going to go a lot of places in life. And yeah, I mean, on live TV news, I mean, there are some million times when they come in with the script, they think they know what they're going to be talking about that day.
Yeah.
Suddenly there's breaking news, and you can take that entire script and just throw it in the trash because nobody cares about it. We're going to the breaking news, and you better just go with the flow. I mean, just adapt, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I have so many stories. One day I'm going to write a book of all the people that I met in television. But I remember one day, one of the executive producers of the show, like it was live, right? I think it was a story. There was a terrorist attack somewhere in Iraq, and basically like mistakes were happening not only from like PAs but producers. Everyone was just trying to roll with the punches, and the executive producer was so pissed, throwing papers at everyone in the control room. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is chaos and dramatic. So it's a very interesting environment to work and be part of. Absolutely.
I mean, getting at those stories, I mean, what's something that producers know about television, but all the people who are watching at home have no idea about?
Television is far from glamorous. People think that when you're working television, oh, you get to be, of course, there's so many perks, you meet incredible people, but it's far from being glamorous. It's a lot of hard work. I worked almost 3 years morning television show. I used to wake up at 1 a.m. and had to be in my office at 2 a.m. I used to work crazy hours, right? So it's not what people think. And then the producers are usually the ones doing all the work, right? It's specifically segment producers. They are the ones doing the whole, producing the whole segment, calling the leads, right? And then usually the anchors are the ones that come and read from the teleprompter.
Right.
So yeah, I don't think they get enough. They don't get enough paid, right? Because compared to like what anchors make, producers should definitely be paid more in television. Yeah,
You're so right. I mean, we forget about those producers that you never see on television, but they're the ones that are putting the whole
yeah,
segment together. Who do you think wrote that whole
everything.
script? Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. So, all right. So I want to get to, where you were kind of headed and where you are now because you were disappointed by the lack of diversity in news coverage. I can see it as well. So you quit your job in television and you decided you're going to make a change in the media industry by launching this website focused on grassroots journalism. And that's really how Blend or Blend the World was born. Now it's one of the most popular sites among Gen Z. And so I guess I'm really curious to know, how did you make this particular platform so popular with Gen Z?
yeah. To us, it really helped that we never intended to make it into business. This was all organic and surprising for us. Um, So in order to understand our journey, like first I need to tell you how it was created. So obviously we created as a grassroots project. And this was 2017. I was mentoring students at Columbia University. They have a great journalism program. Back then I knew the dean and she's like, why don't you come and talk to students every Thursday and talk to them, right? About what it takes to work in the industry as you're already working at scene. And it's like, sure, I'll do it, right? So just by having these genuine conversations with students, I feel that a lot of them felt that they were not being represented well by mainstream media. And this was 2017. There were so many issues in America, such as the Me Too movement, Black Lives Matters, the issues with guns. I mean, we still have these issues today. It hasn't gone away, right? But a lot of students, right, they just felt that their voices were not being heard. So yeah, out of all these conversations, I decided to create and launch this website focused on grassroots journalism. And honestly, we launched the website thanks to a donor. She gave us like 3K, and that's how the project was born. We really never intended to make this into a business. And then it was, I think, the last month of 2017 that one of our stories went viral, right? And then we saw the potential that the website could have. But at our early stages, our focus was on different series, right? From guns in America to suicide prevention to mental health. We just wanted to give a space for college students to open up about their own stories, right? And yeah, and that was really, really successful. One of the things too, I think, and a key thing that it was very successful for Blend is that we were very good at understanding the needs of our audience by doing in-depth keyword research, looking at trends, and creating content based on our audience needs. I think SEO content marketing is specifically has been pivotal to make our publication grow.
Really great insight that a lot of people, I'm sure, never had any idea about. And as an entrepreneur, share with our audience some tips for other students if they want to thrive as entrepreneurs or if they want to be just as successful as you. What tips do you have for them?
Yeah, I have so many good tips. The first one is mindset. You have to work on your mindset. I wish I had known that entrepreneurship is 10% about skills and 90% about mindset. It doesn't really matter how smart or intelligent you are if you do not believe in your God, that you can actually create the life that you envision for yourself, then your success or that your success is undeniable. It's just really not going to happen for you. It's going to be really hard for you to be able to overcome um, the failures that comes with being an entrepreneur, right? And there's so many different ways to grow your mindset, right? I think just developing a powerful daily routine is very helpful. Journaling, right? I remember when I first started and people told me, so you got to journal, you got to put your thoughts in a paper. And I'm like, why? Why does it even matter? And now, right, like 5 years later, that's been like life saver. Sometimes you have so many thoughts in your head, and to just be able to have like a notebook and just write down your feelings, and it just makes you realize and connect, right? How are you feeling that specific day and the things that you can do to grow. So that's definitely another thing that I always tell people to do. Second, investing your knowledge. This is a huge one. This is kind of like the $1 million advice I have for students, for anyone really starting a business. That is what makes a business successful. When you are thinking of creating a new app or opening an online store, whatever it is that you want to do, there is someone out there that is like 5 steps ahead of you, right? It's in the field that you're trying to break into. So having that knowledge and access to that person will save you time to money, years of struggle. And a coach can really provide you knowledge that can transform your business overnight. And it would also help you avoid costly mistakes. I mean, there's so many mistakes I did, specifically the first 2 years where I had my business, because I didn't have that type of coaching, right? And then when I started surrounding myself with people that were experts on the field, right? Just my mindset and the way I would do things for my business completely changed, right? So that's very, very important. And third one is just building a strong and powerful network. I truly believe that your network is your net worth, right? So surround yourself with people you aspire to be so you can move your business forward. I try to put myself, like right now I'm part of two masterminds, so I'm always traveling. And people think it's like, you've made it, why are you like in all these conferences? Well, I'm constantly growing. I constantly want to know different things, want to tap into different industries. So I love to be in a room of full of people, and I'm probably the dumbest person. That's how I know I'm learning. So you gotta do the same. You gotta put yourself out there, right? Sometimes for criticism, sometimes people will love what you do, but you gotta be confident in what you're building, right? And generally not care what people have to say about you. So that's a huge thing. And then four, you have to be flexible. Entrepreneurship is not a straight line. There's so many roadblocks and detours along the way that it's important to be flexible. Otherwise, you will not survive. I think accepting setbacks and just rolling with the changes are vital to the success of entrepreneurs.
Really, really great advice. And I also like that network is your net worth. Totally agree with that. And, for me and
Yeah.
my team at Greek University, there's no question I'm the dumbest person in the room. I mean, we got PhDs everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
these are just absolute ringers. And so, if you really want to grow your company, you better surround yourself with some incredible people. And then they'll take you where you want to go. So,
Yeah.
you just have to just know that there are other people out there that know a lot more than you do, that have a lot more experience in
Yeah.
navigating some of those things. And if they're there to guide you, boy, you can do things beyond your wildest dreams. I promise you that that is 100% accurate. And one of
Yeah.
the other things that I think about too is, as entrepreneurs, both you and I'm sure there are times when we feel burnout.
Oh,
You
yeah.
talked about times when you were waking up at 1 o'clock and being in your office by 2 a.m. I'm sure there were days at CNN that you felt some severe burnout. So, are there ways that entrepreneurs can avoid feeling that burnout?
Oh yeah, it's I burn out so much, specifically first and second year of my business, because I just try to do everything at the same time. And I think focusing your attention and efforts on one aspect of your business that is generating you money, it's key to survive as an entrepreneur. Think about it, right? When you're starting a business, you don't have the resources to hire anyone. The only thing you can do is like generate more money so you can eventually outsource, right? And then you have people to help you. So focus on one thing at a time, right? Once you start making money, outsource your efforts and hire people to help you with other aspects of your business. I think that is key to be able to grow as a business, specifically if you are not getting venture capital money, right? Like I grew BLENDtw from the ground on my own, right? I never went and raised money. Like everyone has a different, I think, story, a different way to do things. But if you're just creating your business and you don't have the resources, then just focus on one thing at a time. And then making sure that every day when you wake up, identifying the tasks that are a priority. It's so easy to get overwhelmed. Like I have a to-do list of things that I have to do, but even when I go through my to-do list every morning, I identify what is priority, what is going to move the needle to my business. right? And that is like the one thing I need to focus and I need to finish for the day. Um, Work smarter, not harder. Juggling too many tasks at the same time is recipe for burnout. Entrepreneurship, it's about learning to work smarter, not harder. So make smart decisions for your business.
I love this. I really, really love this conversation. It's helpful for me too because I'm growing my business, starting to outsource things, and just focusing on what makes money and what's highest priority. That makes a lot of sense to me. Now, talking about productivity, because you're kind of tiptoeing around that, the latest statistics show that 28% of the workday is spent scrolling through social media. So we're wasting $650 billion a year from the American economy just wasting time on social media. It causes a lack of attention. It causes sleep deprivation. We all know, those, mindless holes that we end going into from like on TikTok at 3 o'clock in the morning. And suddenly we're like, oh my God, it's 3 a.m. and I got to get up in 3 hours. And even lower self esteem because now we're comparing ourselves to somebody else's best day on Instagram. So, how do we stop social media from stealing all of our productivity?
Yeah, there's so many different ways. And this is something that I used to struggle so much. And now it's really helped me that I've created kind of like this habit. So the first step that I have is really consuming content with intention, right? Before picking up your device or open up your laptop, create a to-do list of the things that need to get done for the day using the internet and social media. And every time your mind wanders away, because that's what happened, right? You open Instagram and then without knowing you've been scrolling for like 1 hour, you're like, oh my God, what is this? That's what they do. That's what these social media platforms do. But just making sure that every time you get distracted, right, you redirect your focus back to your to-do list. It will help you stay on track and just so you can be productive. Second, setting up a timer. Like people think that that's why you have a phone, right? One of the most simplest ways to limit your time in social media is to set a timer and alarm on your phone to control time spent scrolling in social media. That's been really helpful for me. Every time I get into Instagram or TikTok, right, because I'm trying to grow my platforms, I
Mhm.
usually set a timer. I have 20 minutes on the platform. That's it. That's what I give myself, right? And if you really think about we're talking about people like Bill Gates and Mark Cuban. These are people that spend like I don't know, 10 minutes. I think Mark Cuban gave an interview that he spends 10 minutes in social media, right? Because for him, it's such a big distraction. Obviously, they have so many people and they have outsourced it, and I'm sure they have social media coordinators, but still, right? They realize that social media is very addicting. So it's so important to set a timer when you do things. Turning off notifications, that was a huge one for me, and it really changed so many things. Like I generally sometimes is I think it's one of the things from entrepreneurship. I struggle with anxiety and sometimes FOMO, right? Your fear of missing out. Like, oh my God, like you just want to know what's going on in the world, what's going on in your field, in your industry. But it's so important to turn off notifications so you're not tempted to check your phone every 5 seconds, which is what we usually do, right? And then it just disrupts your day and your productivity. And then another tip that I have is just installing a blocking app. There's so many great apps like Freedom, Serene, Forest. I don't know if you've ever used any of these apps, but they can actually completely block websites from your laptop and then your phone. It's so, so useful when I need to focus on a very specific task and I need and there's deadlines and I need to get it done. So I usually use like these social blocking apps, right? That help me be more productive. Yeah.
Great advice. I love all those apps. Those are some great, great suggestions. And kind of related to social media, there's so much misinformation out there right now. And then we have these upcoming elections. And so I think even other countries are going to start trying to bring discord and influence into our elections, whether we're talking about 2022 and the midterms or we're talking about 2024. So, how can we spot this misinformation online?
Yeah, the first thing that I have to say about this is people think that this is like spotting misinformation. It's like really hard and it's actually really simple. And I usually give this four-step process. The first thing you really want to do is like check the credibility of the source, right? A lot of fake sites try to replicate the URL, logo, the About Us page of very reputable news websites in order to deceive readers. So if any of those elements are off, in these websites, and the site is definitely untrustworthy. And I've seen it a lot, like abcnews.com, like which is like a very big media company. There's one abcnews.co, right? So anyone that, I guess, that like mistypes the website and the internet will take you directly to another one, and it's fake. So just making sure, right, that you look for those elements. The second step is checking for the quality of the content. If a story has typos, does not include the name, bio, social media accounts of the reporter in the actual article, and the information is outdated, then it cannot be considered reliable. Poor quality content is always a huge red flag. The third step is checking for consistency. Social media accounts and websites trying to spread fake news seem to be very consistent with their message. You can easily identify whether a source is credible or not by looking at the posts that they've been publishing on social media and on their website. If the content is incendiary, one-sided, and is trying to push an agenda fiercely, then this is a sign that the site is not reliable. And then that step is just cross-reference with other sources, right? And like there's so many ways to double check the validity of a story. If ABC News, if AP, Reuters, right, which are like agencies are known as the gold standard of journalism, they're not reporting that story, then probably, maybe that story is not valid. So cross-reference it with other sources that are reputable, it's also key.
Very, very good. I love all of that advice. Now, we do love good food here at the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I know you travel all over the world. You spend a lot of time in New York City, in Miami, all these great cities. I love coming back to New York City for good food. It's where I was born. It's like, it's a part of me in New York City. It's a part of my fabric. So, where should I go for a great bite to eat the next time I'm in town?
Jacob Pickles. You gotta go to Jacob Pickles, Lower East Side. They have the best chicken and waffles on earth. Okay. And I've lived 7 years in New York, but I haven't found a place like that. And you know what? It's cheap. The food is delicious and it's so chill. I just love that place. It's like my one place that I have to hit every time I'm in New York City. Yeah.
See, I knew you were going to have a great recommendation for me. That sounds absolutely perfect. I can't wait to go and try it. I'm going to let you know as soon as I go try it.
And the plates are so big. They're so big. Like those chicken and waffles, like you'll be full the whole day because it's so big. I took my parents, I remember like a couple months ago, and my dad was in heaven. He loves meat. So the steaks are so big. And I just like, I'm in heaven. This is delicious. And my mom had the mac and cheese, and she's not a mac and cheese person, but I was like, Mom, you gotta try this. She absolutely loved it. She finished the whole thing. And I'm like, wait, I thought you didn't like mac and cheese, It's just like, oh, but this is so good. Yeah,
I
definitely.
love it. I knew you had the perfect recommendation. That's awesome. All right. So, if our student listeners, if they want to book you to speak on their college campus, where should they go to connect with you?
Yeah, you guys can just find me on Instagram at Cielo Solis. I have a link there, and then if you click on that link, there's a contact page, so you can always send me a message, write an email. Yeah, I mean, I'm always active on my social media accounts, and I'll make sure to answer right back.
That sounds perfect. At Cielo Solis. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. I think you really brought us some great information about television and media companies and entrepreneurship and leadership. I mean, you've got so much great information to share with our college students. So I really appreciate what you do. Thank you so much for being on the
Mhm.
show.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so fun. And I just love connecting with college students because our publication, our demographic is primarily college students. So it's so much fun.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And to our listeners, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this talk with Cielo, make sure that you like it on social media. Make sure you share it with other college students. And we look forward to seeing you on another episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Thanks so much for being here. And we're going to see you next time.